Fáilte. Hello and welcome to Keith's Whisky Vlog. My name is Keith, aka Whisky Tour Guide Keith. As well as here on YouTube, you will find me on Instagram, Whisky Tour Guide Keith, all one word. Follow me, like and subscribe, let me know what you think, check out my other videos. What we're doing today is a whisky tasting video for you, and we're going to be tasting this little beauty here. This is the Highland Park 12-year-old. It's got an extra little name now, Viking Honour, but it's the Highland Park 12-year-old, and this is their standard age statement. They do have a 10-year-old, but the Highland Park 12 is what they're probably best known for. So we'll do a little tasting of this for you today. Now, Highland Park comes from Orkney. I think it is actually the most northerly whisky distillery in Scotland by about a mile. The Scapa distillery is also on Orkney. I've done a little tasting review of the Scapa Skiren, check that one out as well. But today we're doing the Highland Park 12. So this is Scotland, got the trusty Whisky Tour Guide Keith pointer. This is Scotland, sure you can see, we'll get that out of the way just in case just now. And these are the Orkney Islands. There's around 70, I believe there's 67, but up to about 70 islands. And the big one here is mainland, they call it, which is a bit strange when you're there, because since that's called mainland, I would call this the mainland of Scotland. But when you leave the mainland and you go to mainland, they call this Scotland. So it's a bit strange getting your head around that. But anyway, mainland is the biggest island in the Orkney archipelago, and the Highland Park distillery just a little bit further north than Scapa, right up here. Lovely distillery, right on the main road as you go into Kirkwall. So let's tell you a little bit more about Orkney and then we'll get into the whisky. Now, I mentioned the Viking Honour aspect. They're very hot on their Viking heritage on the Orkney Islands. From around about 875 AD up until I think it was 1492, it was part of the Norse kingdom. So part of Norway, Viking, Norsemen, whatever you want to call them. So they're very hot. It's left a real legacy. A lot of sort of Scandinavian names are still popular in the Orkney Islands. In Kirkwall, the main town, you've got the St Magnus Cathedral. Magnus, obviously, a sort of Scandinavian name. I think Magnus is quite a popular boy's name in the Orkney Islands. That said, Orkney's history stretches away back. You're talking about 8,500 years worth of human occupation of Orkney at least. And if you go back, maybe the oldest, certainly on mainland, the oldest archaeological site is the little village of Skara Brae, which dates back to around about 5,500 years old. Although that said, because the village itself is so precious, all these little sort of stone houses, they were buried for centuries under sand dunes, then they were exposed around about 1850. They can't excavate under those houses to find out if it's built on top of, like most of these things are built on top of pre-existing villages or whatever, so they can't actually excavate any deeper because they would then have to destroy the village that they found, the buildings that they found. So fascinating place. The heart of Neolithic Orkney is the middle of Orkney, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There are so many different archaeological sites. You've got Maes Howe, you've got the Ring of Brodgar, the stones at Stennis. There's all sorts of burial mounds. It's a fascinating place. So you've got the Viking heritage going back, what, 500 to about 11, maybe 1200 years. But Orkney's history stretches away back. Even the name Orkney, they suspect it came from the Picts. Now the Picts, going back to our map of Scotland and our trusty tour guide Keith pointer, the Picts occupied this part of Scotland here. And you're probably talking from around about the 400s till around about the 800s. And they reckon that the name Orkney comes from the Pictish word for a young pig, orc. So Vikings, Picts, and going back into the dim and distant past, who knows what language they spoke, where they came from. But fascinating place. If you ever get the chance, great whisky up in Orkney, but fascinating landscape, fascinating history. So all that said, we're going to get on to what we're properly here for, and we'll do a little whisky review of the Highland Park 12. So I like to read the box for you. We'll do a little bit of that, and we'll tell you a little bit about the actual whisky, what it says about itself. Now you'll see, I've not got very much of this left. I've got enough for one, which is good, but we shall see. Now, stating the obvious, this was full. I had it away on tour. I'm a tour guide. I go on tour quite a lot, and we ended up on the beach on a bonfire, and I don't know if there was a hole in the bottle, but it more or less disappeared. I managed to keep some for a little whisky review. Lovely bottle, don't know if you can see, nicely patterned. You'll see in the photos I'm putting up as well with the bonfire, but really nicely presented the Highland Park Viking Honour. So Highland Park 12-year-old Viking Honour single malt Scotch whisky, all good so far. I am a reflection of my ancestors and their values. I keep them close and continue to learn. To pass on those values to future generations, my name is all I truly have. Let it be a legacy of honour. Whatever that's supposed to mean. Made with pride on Orkney. Much more straightforward, and I'm sure that's true. So on the back we've got a little bit here, we'll read that to you as well. Viking Honour is the heart and soul of Highland Park. It reflects the unique culture of our remote island, home on Orkney. Part of Scotland, yes, but originally belonging to a vast Viking kingdom. We'd like to share our story with you. Here at Highland Park, we honour the spirit of our Viking ancestors. We share their pride, integrity and fierce independence, and that's why we continue to distill our award-winning whisky to the same exacting standards introduced in 1798 by our founder Magnus Jonsson, a direct descendant of those early Viking settlers. The result is an intensely balanced single malt Scotch whisky, a perfect harmony of aromatic smoky peat and the flavours of sweet heather honey and rich fruit cake. Smooth, full and rounded, it's a whisky that truly stands apart. The Orkney single malt with Viking soul. This comes in at 40%. And it's obviously, I've had some, I've had a lot of it before, but it's going to be a very easy one to review. There are no real secrets to the Highland Park 12-year-old. Michael Jackson, the sort of the whisky, what would you call him, whisky aficionado, called this the greatest all-rounder in the world of malt whisky. So it's not a secret, it's a lovely whisky, and it's often said that this is it's a single malt, or a sort of standard single malt, standard age statement release single malt that a lot of the other distilleries aspire to. So no secret, this is a very good whisky. Let's put it in the glass and see what happens. Now, it is matured in sherry seasoned both European and American oak, and obviously it comes from some lovely, fresh, clean. I've been there, I've tasted it, Orkney spring water as well. So, oh, nice boom. Straight away, you're getting the sweet honey notes. They call it heather honey. Now, heather grows in abundance all over Scotland. That's a little shrub, and if you're lucky enough to visit Scotland from mid-August through until probably mid-September, the heather comes into bloom, and it's a real sort of pinky purpley all over the hillside. Well, I suspect this may turn into another lamp. The good lady wife, very handy. So I'm sure she's got her eye on this one. She's probably had her eye on this one for quite a while. It's a lovely bottle. It's things that shouldn't really matter, but they do, I think, certainly for me. Just pop it in the front there. Right, on the nose. Yep, so very sweet. It's got almost reading the bottle taste notes. It's very well balanced. It's not too pungent. It's just sweet. We've got that honey. They call it heather honey. For me, there's not as much the It's a bit more floral. Heathers can be, it's hard to describe. You'd have to sniff heather, I suppose, yourself to get it, but anyway. Certainly floral, honey, sweet on the nose. And ever so gentle with the peat. So we'll try it neat, and then we'll try it with a little bit of water for you as well. Definitely honey. You've got a bit more sort of lemon now, so you've got citrusy coming through, sweet lemon. Not quite as strong as maybe sort of cough medicine, but those certainly remind you of sort of cough syrup. Thick, lush, not gloopy, but full in the mouth. Just ever so gentle smoke right at the back there, almost like holding it up with the honey sweetness dripping down the front. And you're getting a decent amount of the wood as well. So with both the European and the American oak, you're getting a real wood influence. Some of the flavour notes tended to mention fruitcake. I'm not quite getting that myself. I'm not getting the full sort of juicy sherry from it. But it certainly is quite sweet. It's sort of sweet and more of a citrus rather than a red fruit type of way. Easy drinking. Could easily go through a bottle of that in an evening. Maybe not yourself, but certainly with a couple of friends. This one I'll give a wee shout out to both Alex and Kira, who were on the Orkney tour with me and helped me to research the full bottle. So here's to you if you're watching, Alex and Kira. Now we'll add a little bit of water. I'm going to go for 3 drops, maybe one more than normal, but just to really open this out. A bit lighter, almost a little bit of that fresh sort of sea air coming through. Definitely fresher. Almost a little breeze somehow. It's still sweet, that little bit lemony. Yeah, when I'm talking about the breeze, you're talking about sort of fresh, clean, refreshing. The sweetness has calmed down a little bit. It's not as sort of that gloopy, glycerine, sugary sweetness. It's still sweet, but it's just a bit gentler. Still a little bit of wood. Again, how would you describe that? So it's lighter wood. So rather than that sort of hardwood, I don't know, soft somehow, a bit more, not quite sawdust, wood shavings, something like that maybe. Certainly not like licking wood or biting wood. It's not, as I say, it's not that hard. It's generally softer without being grainy. It's nice. Now I'm going to enjoy drinking all of this. Technically polishing off the whole bottle, well, finishing off the bottle of an evening. Hope you enjoyed this little review of Highland Park, a little bit of the wider history. We will be looking to review some more Highland Parks for you. I've got a couple sitting waiting, and in due course we'll get a few more lined up and tasted for you as well. Now obviously I like at the end of my tasting videos to recommend other whiskies, if you do like this, other whiskies to try, or if you can't get a hold of this, other whiskies to look for in its place. when you're going up to Orkney, now I suppose you could come from Shetland, you could be coming down the way, you could be coming from Norway, you could be coming across. When I'm heading up to Orkney, up this part of Scotland here, up the A9, this road up the northeast corner, you go past, what do you go past? You go past Glenmorangie, you go past Clynelish, Pulteney and Dalmore distilleries, 4 distilleries. There's 1 or 2 others close by, Balblair, quite close by, but the Glenmorangie 10, up near Tain, I think it is, before you get to Gosby. Glenmorangie 10-year-old, a good sort of classic Scottish single malt, there or thereabouts. Look out for that. You're also, I mentioned the Clynelish distillery, it's a bit further north, it's near Brora, I think it is, just on the other side of Brora. And the Clynelish 14-year-old, one to look out for as well, same sort of ballpark, so I'm obviously going up that part of Scotland. And I'm thinking sort of honey sweetness, so maybe when you go to Speyside, a distillery I visited quite a lot, it's part of Johnny Walker, where will it be on here? Around about here somewhere is the Cardew distillery, and check out the Cardew 12-year-old. They've got 1 or 2 quite sort of sweet honey, sort of Gold Reserve, Cardew 12, the Cardew Gold Reserve. So Clynelish 14, Glenmorangie 10, Cardew 12, if you're looking for something similar to the Highland Park. Okay, thank you for watching. Check out my other videos, let me know what you think of this one, and hopefully we'll see you again elsewhere in another video. Thank you. Slàinte mhath. Cheers.